Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randi Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
Mr. President, the chairman of the Democratic House Ways and Means Committee moments ago asked the IRS for 6 years of your tax returns. What are your...
Is that all?
That's all.
Oh, usually it's 10, so I guess they're giving up. Now, we're under audit, despite what people said, and we're working that out, as I'm always under audit, it seems, but I've been under audit for many years because the numbers are big, and I guess when you have a name, you're audited. But until such time as I'm not under audit, I would not be inclined to do that. Thank you. Okay, thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Authorize of security.
All right. So you know what the important part of that is? Obviously, he's sitting there telling you he's still under audit. And part of the request is to find out if he's under audit. That's part of it. The other part is to find out whether or not he is, a tax fraud, a tax cheat. The other part of it is to find out what his global footprint is. He said he's got thousands of employees. Another part of it is to find out if he's as charitable as he says he is. What charities does he give? You know, all these things, right? There's a million things that we will find out in his tax returns. But what's so interesting is he doesn't understand the law. When they asked him, about his tax returns, they told him that the House chairman of Ways and Means was requesting 6 years. Oh, is that all? Because I guess they're losing because they used to ask for 10. Okay, listen.
President, the chairman of the Democratic House Ways and Means Committee moments ago asked the IRS for 6 years of your tax returns. What are your...
Is that all?
That's all.
Oh, usually it's 10, so I guess they're giving up.
Usually it's 10, so I guess they're giving up. They're not giving up. The reason why 6? 6 is the statute of limitations for criminal tax matters. There are civil tax matters and there are criminal tax matters. And the criminal statute of limitations on, cheating on your taxes is 6 years. You can prosecute tax fraud within 6 years of the last conduct associated with that kind of criminal activity. If it's a civil matter, then the 6-year time limit can be expanded to any amount of time if they filed a false return, or if they willfully attempted to legally evade paying taxes, or if they failed to file a tax return. And that's another thing that we'll find out. Did he fail to file for any of the 6 years? So that's why 6 years. And he's such an idiot. He goes, oh, because they used to ask for 10 and now they're only asking for 6. I guess they're giving up. No one is giving up. They're looking for crimes. The Constitution still exists, Donald. It still is in play. No matter how many judges you pack into courts, the Constitution of the United States is still intact today. And as long as that's the case, and as long as your own Justice Department keeps on saying that there is no way to indict a sitting president, then they are making the case that Congress itself is the only valid vehicle for oversight of a president. Your own Justice Department, your own Attorney General 2.0, your own Attorney General, the sequel, Bill Barr, says in his 19-page audition memo that a president of the United States can't be indicted. Well, if that's the case, then the only remedy is impeachment for high crimes and misdemeanors as decided by Congress, as decided by the House. And the articles of impeachment originate in the House Judiciary Committee. So that would mean Gerald Nadler. So you can't have it both ways. If your Attorney General believes that a president can't be indicted, then the only way that the president can be held to account is by Congress. And so therefore, their oversight role is emphasized by your own attorney generals, screaming and yelling. So give them the freaking Mueller report. And too bad for you, you have nothing to say about your stinking taxes. The IRS commissioner is now obligated to provide them, whether you're under audit or not. And in fact, if what I read, and I understood that I read, is that the IRS commissioner must audit a president and a vice president's taxes while those people are president and vice president, then you are under audit currently, and it still doesn't matter. As for whether or not you were previously under audit when you were running for president all those years, your fixer, who would be the guy who buried your tax returns, if indeed you cheated on them or failed to file them or willfully attempted to illegally evade paying your taxes, said you weren't under audit.
Mr. Cohen, do you know whether President Trump's tax returns were really under audit by the IRS in 2016?
I don't know the answer. I asked for a copy of the audit so that I could use it in terms of my statements to the press, and I was never able to obtain one.
Okay. Do you have any inside knowledge about what was in the president's tax returns that he refused to release?
I do not.
Can you give us any insight into what the real reason is that the president has refused to release his tax returns?
Statements that he had said to me was that what he didn't want was to have an entire group of think tanks that are tax experts run through his tax return and start ripping it to pieces, and then he'll end up in an audit, and he'll ultimately have taxable consequences, penalties, and so on.
So that's an interesting point, that basically he said he didn't want to release his tax returns because he might end up in an audit. So could you presume from that statement that he wasn't under audit?
I presume that he's not under audit.
Thank you, Representative Jimmy Gonzalez of California. That's who asked that question, and that's why I still have that clip, because that was an interesting exchange and a roadmap for Congress to conduct its oversight duties, because if it's true that an old OLC, Office of Legal Counsel rule that Bill Barr has invoked in his 19-page audition memo holds, meaning the President of the United States can't be indicted by anybody, can't be indicted by, the FBI or any other law enforcement agency, but only be held accountable by Congress, then it even makes the case to get his tax returns even stronger. So that's where we are today. A lot of things are happening. Now, the reason why it didn't happen so fast, the reason why it's happening now, and it's April, and we had a new Congress seated at the end of January, is because the President of the United States chose to shut down the government. The longest government shutdown in the history of government shutdowns. And so Congress wasn't allowed to do its work. And that's why it's now the beginning of April, and everybody is sending subpoenas, and everybody is sending their demand letters for taxes, and people want to see this, and people want to talk to that. Now, I promise you, Bob Mueller is going to make an appearance on Capitol Hill. I promise you, Bill Barr is going to make an appearance on Capitol Hill. This is only the beginning. And I promise you that the commissioner of the IRS has no choice, none, zero, zip, goose egg, donut, squat, no choice but to release Donald Trump's tax returns from 13 to 18. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.